Welcome back to another episode of SmoothBrainEDH, where we make the smoothest plays with the biggest brains. We have a real banger of a game this week, featuring some high-powered decks, so let's see what our smoothies brought to the table. Up first is Jason, who is on Kumena, Tyrant of Erasca. This Merfolk Typal deck wants to use the tap abilities on Kumena, combined with untapping engines to draw its deck and win through a Thassa's Oracle. It's fine though this time, because it's a Merfolk. Next up is Alex, piloting Narset, Enlightened Exile. Alex wants to go wide with all of his prowessy creatures to overwhelm his opponents, and cast some really cool non-creature spells from graveyards along the way. Our third player today is Ethan, who brought Lathril, Blade of the Elves. Ethan's back on Elf Ball, wanting to use his early mana creatures to deploy big haymakers or big card draw spells faster than his opponents can react. Up last is Matt on Bartolomé del Presidio. Matt's back again with Aristocrats, wanting to sacrifice creatures with Barto to whittle down his opponents and gain tons of value. We're almost to the game, but before that, go ahead and give us a like and let us know down in the comments below which deck you're rooting for. Also in the description down there, we have links to our socials, public Discord server, Decklists, and Patreon. Our channel is partnered with Dragon Shield, so if you're looking to pick up any new sleeves or Magic-related product, check out our affiliate link down in the description. Also, thanks to Dragon Shield for giving us the code SMOOTH5, so use that at checkout for 5% off your order. We're also partnered with Inked Gaming. Check out the affiliate link down below if you want to pick up any custom playmats. Now, let the game begin.
Alex wins the die roll, and he'll jam tapped Prairie Stream and pass to Ethan. Ethan will play Forest into Joraga Tree Speaker and pass. Matt will play Plains into Market Gnome and pass to Jason, who plays his Windswept Heath, and he'll immediately crack it for a Tropical Island and cast an Arbor Elf. And then he passes to Alex, who will start off by shocking into Steam Vents, then he'll cast Third Path Iconoclast and pass to Ethan. Ethan will start off with his Tainted Wood, and then he'll level up Joraga Tree Speaker. He'll then tap her for 2 green mana, and cast Arbor Elf and Elves of Deep Shadow. Then the turn is passed to Matt. He starts off with Grimclimb Pathway. He'll then cast his commander, Bartolomé, and then he'll hug Ethan for 0, and then pass the turn to Jason, who starts off with a Mana Confluence's land for turn. Then he'll drop Deep-Root Waters, and he does lose 1 to his land. Now we'll move to Alex's turn, where he plays Deserted Beach as land for turn. Then he'll tap for 3 and cast Monastery Mentor. Man is assembling an army soon. Alex will then move to combat and poke Jason for 2, and then pass the turn to Ethan. He starts off with a Blooming Marshes land for turn, and then he'll cast Growing Rites of Itlimoc. And he'll reveal Craterhoof Behemoth from its ETB trigger, so it goes to his hand. Then after this, he'll cast Skemfar Avenger, and then move to combat. He'll poke Jason for 2, and then move to his end step, and Growing Rites of Itlimoc will transform. The turn is then passed to Matt, and he starts off with a Command Tower. And then after a bit of thinking, he'll just pass the turn to Jason. Then he'll cast a Benthic Biomancer, and he gets a 1/1 token along with it. And then he passes the turn to Alex. He'll play a Port Town, but has no basics to reveal. Then he'll cast a Brainstorm, and he'll get 2 1/1s off of this, one with Prowess. And he also triggers Prowess. Then he'll draw 3 and put 2 back. After this, he'll cast Sleight of Hand, and triggers all around again. And this time he'll look at the 2 cards he put back and decide which one he wants to keep. Then after this he'll consider, and triggers all around yet again. He'll keep the card on top and draw it. After this he'll move to combat and hit Ethan for 5, and then pass the turn. Ethan will start off by casting Wirewood Symbiote, and then he'll play a Forest as land for turn. After this he'll cast a Llanowar Tribe, then he taps Itlimoc for 6 green, and then he'll tap for a black to cast Lathril. Jason decides this is a good place to use his mana drain, so he'll counter the commander. But with 3 greens still floating, a land untapped, an Elves of Deep Shadow, and an Arbor Elf, Ethan is able to just cast her again. Matt will respond to the cast though by sacrificing Market Gnome to the president of the Barto Club. So he gets a counter, and Matt will draw a card and gain a life. Ethan then passes the turn, but Matt stops on end step to Stroke of Midnight, Skemfar Avenger. Ethan responds to it though by bouncing it to his hand with Wirewood Symbiote to untap Joraga Tree Speaker. And then we move to Matt's turn. He'll play a Plains and then slam an Overloaded Dam. Ethan will respond to it by doing the Wirewood Symbiote trick again, this time bouncing Lathril. Hey everybody, welcome to a clean board state. It's Jason's turn now, and he gets 4 colorless mana on his first main phase. He'll then start off with an Exotic Orchard, and then cast Hawkball. He also gets a 1/1 Merfolk friend. He'll then move to combat, and his 2 Merfolk will explore. Starting with the little guy, he reveals a Yavimaya, which goes to hand. Then Hawkball will reveal a Waterlogged Grove, which also goes to hand. The turn is then passed to Alex, and he starts off with a Sundown Pass as lane for turn. Then he'll cast Decaying Time Loop, and he'll discard 2 lands, Crash Through, and Faithless Looting, and then draw 4. The turn is then passed to Ethan, and he'll just recast Lathril, and then pass the turn to Matt. Matt will cast Cruel Celebrant, and then Blood Artist, and then he passes to Jason. And he'll immediately move to combat, and his 2 merfolk will explore. The little guy will reveal Master of the Pearl Trident, which goes to the graveyard. Then Hawkball will reveal Eternal Witness, which stays on top. They both get counters. He forgets to put it on Hawkball, but he'll remember later, don't worry. He'll then move to declare attacks, and he'll swing for 2 at Alex and 4 at Matt, and they both just take it. There's also a Hawkball attack trigger, and Jason puts Yavimaya into play. Then post-combat, he'll play Waterlogged Grove as lane for turn, then he'll tap for 5 and cast Seedborn Muse. The turn is then passed to Alex, and they'll both untap. Then he'll play a Training Center as lane for turn, and then we see Narset and Lighten Exile hit the field. We'll then pass the turn to Ethan, and we'll immediately see 2 Menace turn sideways at the man with 1 blocker. So Alex will take 2 Commander, and Ethan gets 2 Elf tokens. He'll then cast a Realm Walker, and I seriously bet you can't guess what creature type he names. After this, he'll tap his Itlimoc for 4 mana, and then tap for a black, and he'll cast Skimfar Avenger, and then he'll just pass the turn to Matt. And Matt will just play a Swamp and cast Sir Conrad the Grim. The turn is then passed to Jason, and he'll start off by casting Kumena, and he gets another little merfolk friend. Jason then moves to combat, and his dudes explore. He goes left to right, so the first one reveals an island, which goes to hand. Next is Elvish Mystic, which goes to the graveyard. Then there's an Intruder Alarm, which stays on top for the rest. And yes, there was a missed Sir Conrad trigger from the exploration. Now on to actual attacks. Jason will send 5 at Alex, and with the attack trigger, he won't put a land in play, and he'll draw the Intruder Alarm. Then, using Kumena's ability, he'll tap 3 Merfolk to draw a card. Then he'll play an island as land for turn, and use it to cast Aquatex Will on Itlimoc. He'll draw a card when he does, and then pass the turn to Alex. And Alex will start off with a basic island. Then he'll slam a Stormkiln Artist. After it resolves, he'll cast a Slip Through Space, triggers, and he'll draw a card. This will make Narset unblockable. After this, Alex will move to combat, and he'll swing for 4, soon to be 5, at Jason. Attack trigger, and he'll exile Stroke of Midnight from Matt's graveyard, and he'll cast it targeting Seedborn Muse. Funnily enough, Alex attempts to pay mana for this, but the table has him reread his commander, and he casts it for free. Cast triggers, and Jason will respond with a Legolas's Quick Reflexes. So the spell fizzles, and then Jason will take 5 commander. Alex will then pass the turn, and on end step, Jason taps 3 Merfolk to draw a card. And now on Ethan's turn, he decides to just go ahead and cast the Craterhoof Behemoth, because Itlimoc still can tap for a ton of green mana. And Jason decides to delay it, but Alex can respond to this, and he makes a deal with Ethan. If he stops the delay, Ethan can't swing anything at him this turn, and Ethan agrees. So Alex will Fierce Guardianship the delay. Cast triggers. Jason will respond by sacrificing his Waterlogged Grove to draw a card. Then he does some quick math, and he sees that if Ethan swings everything at him, he'll still die, even with his blockers, so he decides to tap 3 of his Merfolk to draw another card. We then move down the stack, and the Guardianship counters the delay, and then the Craterhoof Behemoth resolves. And the ETB trigger resolves. Ethan will then move to combat, and he swings everything except Lathril at Jason for a total of 42 damage, and then 8 commander goes at Matt. Moving to blocks, Matt wants to deny Ethan a bunch of elves, so he'll put Sir Conrad and Cruel Celebrant under Lathril, and then take 2 commander. Jason unfortunately can't survive here, but he will put his 2 blockers underneath Skimfar Avenger to kill it. Sir Conrad sees a total of 4 other creatures die, so he should trigger 4 times, but they accidentally include himself and do 5 triggers. But they did miss 1 trigger from him earlier, so we're just going to call that good. After this, they then remember the 2 Cruel Celebrant triggers, and then the 5 Blood Artist triggers. That go at Ethan. Then, after Ethan's trigger to make 2 elves resolves, we'll move to Matt's turn. And you know what, it's time to double down on Blood Artist effects. Falconwrath Noble is cast. And then the turn is just passed to Alex. He'll start off with a Renegade Tactics targeting one of Ethan's elves. There's a bunch of triggers. After this, he'll cast Peek, cast triggers, and when it resolves, he'll look at Matt's hand and draw a card. After this, he'll move to combat, and he'll full swing at Ethan. Narset attack trigger, and he'll cast Renegade Tactics, making his other elf unable to block. Cast triggers. And with nothing able to block and no responses around the table, Ethan takes 17 damage. And then the turn is passed to Ethan. And he'll start off by casting a Bloom Tender off the top of his library. After this, he'll tap his Itlimoc for 8 mana, and then use 2 of it to cast Rampant Growth. He'll find a tapped swamp to the battlefield. After this, he'll cast Wirewood Channeler, and then a Beast Within, targeting the Falconwrath Noble. It resolves, and Matt's triggers will be pointed at Ethan. And the 3/3 Beast is completely forgot about. Ethan will then move to combat and swing for 2 Menace at Matt, and when it connects, he'll make 2 elves. The turn is passed, and Matt plays Nykthos. He'll then tap for 5 and cast Agadeem's Awakening, X's 2, and will return Cruel Celebrant and Market Gnome to the battlefield. Then he'll pass to Alex. He'll start off with a Ponder, triggers. He likes the top 3, so he'll put them back in an order and draw a card. Then he'll cast Past in Flames, triggers. So now with all this flashback, he'll start off with a Crash Through, triggers, and then he'll flashback Faithless Looting for 1 mana, not 3. Even more triggers, and he'll draw 2 and discard Obsessive Search and a Plains, and he'll cast the Obsessive Search for its madness. Even more triggers. Then he'll move to combat, and he swings a soon-to-be 20 power Stormkill Artist at Ethan and Narset at Matt. Attack trigger from Narset, and he'll cast Slip Through for free, targeting Narset. Triggers. Ethan will then move to blocks, and he puts everything he can under the Stormkill Artist, and after a little math, he's only got 17 toughness, and that's 20 power, so when damage goes through, he still dies. And Matt can't block, so he'll take 9 commander. Now the Stormkill Artist will also die, and Blood Artist does see Ethan's 10 creatures die, so Alex will get drained for 11. After this, Alex will just pass the turn to Matt, and Matt will cast the best tutor ever, Diabolic Tutor. Alex will Pact Negation it though, and in response, Matt will swing for 1 at him. And then the turn is passed to Alex. And he'll pay 5 mana on his upkeep. Then he'll cast Firebrand Archer and hold priority. He'll free cast Force of Will, exiling Supreme Verdict to counter his own Archer. Prowess trigger. Then still holding priority, he'll pay 3 mana to Force of Negation his Force of Will. Prowess trigger. And then when all this resolves, his Firebrand Archer will resolve. This makes his Narset big enough to swing in at Matt and cast Diabolic Tutor. And that's exactly what he does. Triggers. So he tutors a card to his hand, and before blocks he'll cast it. It's a leap. This gives Narset flying, he'll draw a card, and there's more Prowess triggers and Firebrand Archer triggers. Then Matt will take 7 commander damage. And then the turn is passed to Matt. He'll start off with a basic Plains, and then he'll tap for 4 and recast his commander, Bartolomé. After this, he'll tap for 3 and cast Victimize, sacrificing his Market Gnome. And he'll reanimate Sir Conrad and Falconwrath Noble. Death triggers. And Matt's got it here. He'll start off by sacrificing his Cruel Celebrant, and Alex is drained for 4. Then he'll sacrifice the Falconwrath Noble, and 3 drain triggers will kill Alex. That makes Matt and his Barto Club the winner for the 2nd week in a row. Congrats, man. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. The Vampire Aristocrats deck wins again, in almost the same way as last week's game. But to be honest, this was a really good game. All the decks got to perform really well. Jason set up an absolute engine, Ethan was threatening Hoof on turn 4, Alex got to do fun Narset shenanigans, and Matt swooped in with the Drain kill. But yeah, let us know what you guys thought down in the comments below. If you liked it, please leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. But that's enough from me today. I hope you all have a smooth day.